All right, what's on this list? All right, this first one. The federal government plans to eliminate services for LGBTQ youth who call 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline, according to a HHS budget draft leaked last week. Yeah, this was a news story that said Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his brainworms want to get rid of the helpline that I forgot the number. Like, that number has been called a lot of times by teenagers who are in need. And the last administration actively promoted it to make sure to address the mental health crisis in public schools. And these idiots are like, you know what? We're going to cut it. No one needs that stuff because they don't actually value mental health. Mental health for Republicans is the line you offer after a school shooting to get everyone's attention off of guns. You say, we just need better mental health services. And here's the mental health service. And RFK Jr. is like, let's get rid of it. Or maybe that's Elon. I don't know. But again, it's just an entire Republican administration full of the worst human beings in the country. And they always talk about how much they love Jesus, but all they have been doing is making life harder for the most vulnerable members of our society. Oh my God. J.K. Rowling. So in the UK, the Supreme Court in Britain, they basically said, we're going to, I don't know the nuance of the UK policy, but it was not good for trans people. They basically said there are two genders as far as we're concerned. And J.K. Rowling she tweeted this picture right after that ruling came down with like a cigar in one hand and a drink in the other, because she's having a little party in, what is that, her yacht? Her backyard? It could be either one, I don't know. But she's celebrating. I love it when a plan comes together. Hashtag Supreme Court. Hashtag women's rights. And yeah, I mean, that tracks. That's who she is now. Her entire identity is no longer the Harry Potter lady. It is the woman who really hates trans people. It's like Richard Dawkins. Same horrible trajectory. And I like this suggestion from this other person. We all need to treat Harry Potter intellectual property like we treat Tesla. So that means for all of you, if you don't no, stop watching any movies. There's like an HBO show that is coming out, that's a reboot of the Harry Potter franchise. Do not watch it. You should trash it. Do not celebrate anyone who's in those movies. Just, you're done with Harry Potter for the rest of your life now. Do not advocate it. Do not promote it. Do for her what you did for Elon and just tank the brand. She doesn't deserve the money. Do not go to the Harry Potter theme park in Florida or wherever else it is. I think that's a sensible move. And by the way, if you really like the books and you want to read them to your kids or something like that, I don't know, check them out from the library if you have to. Don't put money in her hands. But beyond that, do not celebrate the property. Don't talk about Harry Potter if you can help it, right? Treat her the same way we treat Elon Musk, which is the name should become a punchline. And even though there might be value in what she created, there's value in other things too, and we can promote the rest of it. So I'm all for it. I don't know why people still treat her like she is now a symbol for something amazing. What I don't get about J.K. Rowling, though, Elon Musk grew up wealthy and remained wealthy and is now the richest person in the world. I get why he's an asshole, because he never had to work for anything, really. Richard Dawkins, honestly, different story, but the same thing. He grew up in an upper class family. And I know he studied and he's very smart and stuff, but he's spent the majority of his life being the most famous person in any room he walked into, arguably the richest guy in any room he walked into. But J.K. Rowling, if you know anything about her story, she was not rich growing up, and there was a part of her life, I think, that she was getting money from the government. I'm not sure, but single mother, did not have anything going for her. And then as the story goes, the Harry Potter idea came to her. She wrote the book, the rest is history. But she should know what it's like when vulnerable communities feel like they have nowhere to go. And then she became rich. And what I don't get is, now that she has wealth and fame, she's using it to make the lives of other people worse. I kind of get it if you're Elon Musk. I really don't get it if you're coming from such a not wealthy place to begin with. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't get what's up with her, but I could say that about a lot of very powerful people in the UK, because it's not like the UK is like the US is horrible for trans people, but the UK is somehow way worse. All right, this is a neat update. I did a story a week or two ago about a Catholic hospital, Mercy One, I think in Colorado, was it? And basically, they had to deal with a malpractice case. A woman was suing the hospital, saying the doctors at this Catholic hospital did not save my fetus, and the fetus died. And I'm suing you for malpractice because that fetus should have been alive. And that's your fault. You did not take care of my fetus. And the hospital is saying to courts, the hospital's lawyers were saying to the judge that, wow, if you sue us because the fetus is a person, we would have to pay a lot more in malpractice insurance. So we're going to go to court and say a fetus is not a person, so we should not have to pay out as much. And the thing is, the Catholic Church says the exact opposite. The Catholic Church says, like, you're a person from the moment of conception. And so this was kind of hypocritical, because the Catholic hospital, to save money, their lawyers were arguing we should all ignore Catholic doctrine, right? And that was funny, even though the whole story is sad. But here's an update for you. Ever since there was a media firestorm about the hypocrisy here, the church's lawyers, the Catholic hospital's lawyers, have gone back to court, and they told the judge, yeah, you know that argument we made that a fetus is not a person, so we should be capped in how much we might have to pay out? We're not going to make that argument anymore. And I believe in that article, even the judge is like, yeah, it sounds about right, because I thought your argument was kind of weird. Even the judge is like, yeah, I thought you guys were being hypocrites there. But good. And now the question is, now that the cap has been lifted, how much will Mercy One have to pay out for malpractice insurance? There's a long way to go before we get an answer to that question, because first you got to have a jury decide, was there malpractice? Then how much are they going to have to pay out? And it's going to take a while. But I do appreciate that they finally reversed course on that dumb legal argument that contradicted their own beliefs. Okay, this is fun. Let me tell you a story about this. This is Diana Harshbarger. Actually, I'm sorry, Dan, I'm going to jump in right here. This is to the J.K. Rowling thing. This is J.K. Rowling grew up well off. She was not as poor as she said. I actually don't know if you're right or wrong about that. I do know that she has said in interviews that at some point she was a single mother who was like riding on a train. That's what I mean by she didn't have a ton of money. I don't know what she had. That's all I meant. But she was definitely not super wealthy, like growing up in the same way Elon Musk's dad had an emerald mine or whatever. That's all I meant to say. So thank you for clarifying me on that. Okay, so here's the story about this. I got a tip a couple days ago where someone said, here's a Republican congresswoman. She did an interview with some small Christian podcaster, and there's some religion that they discuss in this 20-minute interview. And the person had not listened to the interview, but they said, hey, she's talking about religion. You should watch this, and maybe there might be something in here that might be interesting. So I was watching this clip, and this is one of the things that, this is Diana Harshbarger from Tennessee. This is what she pointed out. She said the devil's not messing with her. She's a good Christian. But you know who he might be messing with? Vladimir Zelensky. Let's play this clip. And Dan, I hope you have the other clip from Diana Harshbarger right after this. If not, I'll talk about it.
You know, you're taught in spiritual warfare, the devil can only be in one place at one time. And I don't think he's messing with me, but with Russian president or Ukrainian, or we don't know where he's at. But he's got all these little henchmen that are demons that are wreaking havoc in every area of our lives.
Right. Yeah, just the idea that a sitting U.S. congresswoman is like, yeah, the Ukrainian president, Satan's sending him all these little henchmen that are demons. Like, that is insane talk. Like, if you heard a pastor say that, you would say that person is batshit crazy. This is a sitting U.S. congresswoman. So, Dan, if you don't have the next clip, it's fine. But the story, oh, here we go. So get this. So I'm watching this interview, and I watch the religion section of it, and I see that particular clip where she talked about the devil. I'm like, that is a little weird. I'm going to share that with people. And then I kept watching the rest of the interview, and at the very end of it, like the last 30 seconds, she somehow said something even worse because now she's done with the interview and she's just speaking with the interviewer like they're just riffing, and she's talking about, man, I have to work with all these crazy liberals. And she references Al Green, who is the black congressman you might remember from Trump's State of the Union a couple months ago, where Al Green got up in the middle of the speech and shook his cane in Donald Trump's direction, and Al Green was escorted out. And if you remember the media coverage after that, it's like, yeah, you know what? I wish more Democrats were like Al Green, willing to risk getting thrown out of that chamber of Congress rather than the weak Democrats who sat in their seats with stupid little paddles with signs on them. So like, Al Green, good for you. But she was talking about Al Green, and I heard this and I'm like, this is not even what someone sent me this clip to show, but oh my God. So play this. Listen to what she said.
And
signs up during the State of the
now
Union.
that's not me. I wanted to go over there and grab a few of them, but Al Green was over here with his cane, and I'm like, gosh, dang it, boy! But he does not need that cane. That cane is a prop. I swear it's not real. And I'm wondering. One of my colleagues said, screw the gold part off of that. See if there's a gun in there. I'm like, I don't know about that man. He's just Weird Al. Okay. And
she said so many things in that clip. First of all, she called him boy, which has a lot of racial connotations there. When a white person calls a black person boy, he's like a 70, 80-year-old guy. That's messed up. Then she says the cane he's using that he's had because he has a disability is a prop. It's not a prop. Then she says if you unscrew it, you're going to find a gun in there. I believe Al Green held a press conference this week where he literally unscrewed his cane and there was nothing inside. But what I appreciate is someone sent me this clip because they're like, she talks about religion. And because she got so comfortable talking about religion, she opened up in a way, knowing the cameras were still on, and just talks casually, is a racist casually, mocks a member of Congress who is disabled casually, and just says it like this is the way she talks to her buddies behind closed doors. And I was able to share this, and this actually got enough traction that she had to respond to it later in the week. Al Green responded and held a little press conference about it later in the week. And I did see, if you look up this woman's name in the news, there were plenty of articles written about the racist, insinuation she's making with all this too. And you know what? Damn it. I want some credit for that. I found that clip after someone sent me the original thing. But that aside, this just shows you, if you watch some of these interviews with radical right-wing people, they assume the only people watching their interviews are other crazy radicals. And if you listen to them, you hear some crazy, crazy stuff. And as some of you are pointing out, I interviewed a YouTuber, Atheist, Christy Burke, not long ago. And one of the things that happened to her is this is her congresswoman in Tennessee. And she went to a town hall meeting to ask Diana Harshbarger about some stuff. And for asking those questions and protesting at that meeting, Christy was kicked out because they didn't want any protests or anything like that. So anyway, that clip is just wild. This is also, I got to break another story this week. This is someone in the Department of Veterans Affairs emailed me and they said, we just got an email asking us to share examples of anti-Christian bias. And you may recall, I made a video about this. Trump issued an executive order, which means nothing really, but he said, we're going to stamp out anti-Christian bias in the government. And the video I made was like, in his executive order, he had examples of anti-Christian bias, supposedly. But if you actually look through those stories, there was no anti-Christian bias. There was just like some Christians were being assholes and then they got punished for being assholes. And all these people were like, you're going after them for being Christian. It's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. Well, the Department of Veterans Affairs sent out an email to all employees saying, we want you to tattle on your colleagues and tell us if you've ever been the victim of anti-Christian bias. And I was able to share that news, and specifically what they said counted as anti-Christian bias, which is pretty much anything and everything. But the interesting thing is they also have the email address right there, anti-Christian bias reporting at va.gov. I don't know. I guess you could send them anything you want. But all of this is to say, listen, if you have a story tip, you should send it my way. I will try to get it out there. This is interesting too. I didn't know this. We always talk about the Wisconsin Supreme Court because it's like always teetering. It was like a 3-3 tie, and then there was an election, and will it be a liberal majority or a conservative majority? And the past 2 times they've had these existential elections, the liberal candidate has won. And so there is currently a 4-3 majority for the good guys on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which means they can get rid of gerrymandering and they can undo a lot of the worst inclinations of Republicans. Well, in Michigan, this is what surprised me. Michigan's Chief Justice retired, which makes the Supreme Court 5-1 Democratic, and Gretchen Whitmer gets to appoint the replacement, which is incredible. I didn't know Michigan Supreme Court was not as evenly divided. That's kind of incredible. But it also reminds me, I think Montana is the state where, as red as Montana is, the Montana State Supreme Court has a majority of liberals on it. And so occasionally you will see really good court rulings coming out of Montana for that reason. It surprises me every time. What else we got here? This one we'll skip because we already played this during the Pope one. What is this one? This is Tuna. You have once again taken him to the vet instead of the park. Fool him once, shame on you. Fool him twice, even more shame on you. Aw, I like that account, We Rate Dogs. It just shows cute dogs. I don't normally like dogs, but that is a very cute dog. I don't know what else to say about that one.